All right, let's go.
Let us. Alrighty. So just a very quick recap. My project is working on Headspace for Work. Initially, it was much more on the administrative panel to kind of understand how HR or even managers see how their employees are engaged or how many people are meditating. But since I do not have access to that data yet, I decided to go with more of the user end. And basically, after doing the work and coming into a conclusion of how I should decide how I should further design my screens. The root problem I wanted to go with is it's hard to meditate even when companies give it to you for free. Why is that a problem? Well, Headspace for Work users don't understand the benefits of meditation because they lack the consistency of practicing. And that is because why is that? Is this because it's challenging for them to create time in order to build up the habit and learn? And this is just an excuse because they're busy between work and life to put in that effort. And that kind of relates back to forgetting and laziness. Ultimately, the psychology of it is human habit to give in easier to dopamine rewarding tasks that are simple, like watching an episode on Netflix, or playing with your cat, or watching a basketball game. And why is that? There's a lack of context, and the context is what drives an individual to be motivated. For example, let's say you have 10 minutes before your next meeting, but there's not, if you just go on the app, you don't really know what you're looking for. And in the end, you don't get to practice or understand the long-term or even short-term benefits of meditating. And why is that an issue? The practices aren't relevant. And this is especially true when you're targeting new users that are uh, coming to Headspace and trying meditation for the first time. And we do this because we want the users to be more engaged, and this in turn increases um, the um, the activation rate for the number of subscriptions each time the company decides to renew Headspace for Work. And ultimately, if we are to do that, there's too much information presented in the current app, which causes decision paralysis. So taking a look at a higher level approach of going from it's hard to meditate when Headspace is free, we can deduce the root cause just from my analysis is users exhibit cognitive overload from having work-life balance and lack the motivation as well as context to understand the benefits of practicing meditation. Um, I haven't written up the countermeasure for this, but I have a bunch of ideas in my head. But ultimately, the solution to that would be when going back to my screens. Let's see. I've decided that this first exploration in bucket one of consolidation to reduce friction when picking a meditation isn't that high of a priority, so that will be outed. For this idea here, bucket two, increasing relevance to quickly find a meditation. Since this is the first screen that most users see, whether it's their first time or 100th time going into Headspace, I think this first screen will be crucial. So I will be redesigning the navigation as well as the context of what individuals see popping up when they pick a meditation, at least on the initial screen. As for these other options, with creating more awareness with what you are learning, I think this is equally as important as kind of creating time pockets because there is a lack of time or people think that they don't have time. So I will be combining that idea with this one where you kind of combine your calendar and kind of create a very special personalized context for you to meditate within a time slot. Um, and then as I talked with Jen about being more intentional with the copy, I think that will drive the main kind of redesign of how I will approach giving people more context and relevance. That's pretty much it where I'm at right now. As for this survey thing, I might revisit this later, but I don't think I will be focusing on that for now.
Oh, why not the survey?
Um, I think the survey, because when I think about it, back to what I discussed earlier, having if I did, I'm thinking of it as a layered design approach. Step one, you get into the app, you see the navigation, you see specific context, and it guides you to basically set up notifications for the personalized like notifications of when you should meditate with your calendar. So it's like a step one, step two, and then the aha moment at the end is like you'll be able to meditate without having to think so much, as well as learn about what exactly you're doing. It's kind of like guiding you towards that. The survey I don't feel as strongly about right now because one, it's a complete like I'm going into uncharted territory, and that in itself is okay. But I feel like the heavy lifting will be kind of like A/B testing, like phrasing, visuals, copy, and just like how many screens will get the kind of like the MVP idea across. And I already did some like research on like some competitors you showed me, like Bloop, as well as Happify. A lot of things and meditation apps do provide some sort of a kind of survey style thing. The problem with these survey style things is that it requires you to put your attention into it. If individuals are already so kind of like demotivated from their busy work life schedule, especially if they're new to meditating, they're not going to spend like 5 minutes to do this. And even if they do, that's a much more specific kind of like target user, whereas I'm targeting people who are new to Headspace, and we want to get them into Headspace as quickly as possible and meditating.
Okay, cool. I love that you had 5 whys and you went through the exercise. So thank you for being proactive in that. Yeah, a lot of it is just getting people to just try it and do it. So it sounds like you want to mix in context with a really easy way to just jump right in, which is your bucket number 2. I think it's bucket number, yeah, 2 and 3 is what you want to focus on.
Yes. Like if y'all have any thoughts, feel free to give input. The reason why I didn't want to go to this idea, as I said before, is like it makes a lot of sense to dive deeper into it, but since it's not like the first point of contact for users, you really have to like put yourself in the mindset of like, okay, assuming like I'm gonna spend time to like go through a survey or like I'm interested in that.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're more focused on like the activation then. What is someone doing when they first come on? Do they know what's going on? Can they take their first actions and experience some kind of benefit?
Yeah. So once it's kind of locked in, all the other stuff can kind of take more precedent. And obviously, if I were a designer at Headspace, like designing on for the onboarding experience or like the activation rate, this would probably take more precedent. And then if we want to retain them further, like adding value of like, oh, you're learning this much over this amount of time, and like provide more value by curating it in like a survey style thing, that would probably come after.
Okay, yeah. Let me admit, Julie. Oh, right. Well, yeah. Like you said, I'm proud of you for coming up with your point of view. I know that was difficult, so no. Okay, Judah doesn't do that. Why should that? Where's that sound coming from? Oh,
I think you're muted, babe.
Oh no, no, that was intentional.
Oh,
You, sorry. Basically, Jen and I, one of us has to be on mute when we're in the same room. Chris, I was just gonna say like, I just remembered something that may or may not be relevant to you as you explore. So, recently, like, or this past year when I was at Berkeley Haas, there's a part of our application process where we invite like the 100, 200 people onto campus to like interview. And then at the time, our executive director kind of led them in sort of like a meditation practice, like as a group in like the auditorium. And although I'm not didn't talk to like everyone, in there, but they enjoyed it. But also like I felt like it may have been some of their first exposure to like meditation, just something very brief, like, breathe in, breathe out, like, be present, like trust your preparation, something like it was basically like bootleg Headspace, because I literally I played him the Headspace interview like thing before for him to structure his thing. So I'm wondering if there's a part of, what you can consider is part of your design that maybe links to or integrates with employment onboarding, right? Like maybe when like HR goes over benefits, like as a cohort and or as a new group being onboarded, they talk about, hey, you have this like this Headspace for Work opportunity. And since we're here, we're going to walk you through in case this is your first time going through Headspace. And then we'll just kind of like go through maybe this small segment that's like meant for onboarding and getting people started. So I don't know what that entirely looks like, but sounds like as you're thinking about how to get people activated, just that first time that they do it, as a group or individually, can be helpful for them to get maybe they won't understand it fully, but they'll be like, hey, you know what, I did that and it was like not as weird as I thought, it was actually kind of nice, like I kind of want to explore this some more. So that was just like a memory that occurred to me, that wanted to share. May or may not be relevant to you.
Yeah, no, thanks for the feedback. No, that definitely is. I talked to a guy at Google where mental health is really important. They actually have like weekly kind of like group meditations. They have people that lead it. And as you were talking like the onboarding process, I've seen certain case studies or even people talk about like even like when you first sign that NDA or like your contract or whatever, like your full-time offer, you'll get a bunch of emails. Like even within the email experience, like you might get a Headspace for Work kind of like email thing, and that might be the first point of contact, or it might even be somewhere where like your manager mentions it. It becomes like a group thing. So thinking about the different touch points from like email to like Slack or like your messaging in person in a group versus using the actual app, there's so many ways like you can kind of reach that stage. I think for this point, I'm going to be focusing on just the app, but in the case study, I'll be addressing those topics as it relates to kind of like the kind of the activation rate of like getting a user onboarded, activated, onboarded, retained, and what that means for like the life cycle. Mhm.
It sounds a bit like service design. What Faye was talking about. Your service design, like talking to like the HR people and putting this in the presentation is like beyond the app and in someone else's HR process. Yeah, I think most of all, I'm really happy that you committed and I feel like you feel more sure of yourself. I feel like that's something that you've struggled for a while, is like sticking to something. So yeah, how do you feel that you've like put your stake into the ground and you have made a decision on where to narrow down your scope?
Yeah, no, it feels really good. I think as I keep writing down more things and kind of like reframing things, it makes more sense to me. And as I go through each one of the exercises and review like the new content, I think I'll be kind of like chugging along the way. So happy to keep moving along, pointing the needle towards the right direction.
All right, my cursor is being weird. Oh, there's water. All right. Faye, do you want to go next and Julie can go next?
Sure, sounds good. Nah, share my screen. So this might be a little bit of a refresh for Chris and Julie. It's a little bit of what I talked about on my on our accountability call. So I completed the user usability test phase, and here are some different some 5 of the main buckets or insights that the feedback fell into. So users wanting more information and context regarding personalization, wanting it to feel a little less random, less jumps here and there. in terms of the recommendations. There definitely is a privacy concern, and also you know, a comfortability concern in terms of, you know, being asked certain questions, you know, and you know, having that be more of like an optional thing as opposed to being required to. User wanting to have freedom to explore, don't want to feel like learning is a chore. So feeling like, you know, delighted, wanting to engage with the design. User wanting a clear call to action, clear next steps, you know, having that be as easy as possible. And this is something I mentioned to Chris and Julie, but Jen, I was going to say, like, in Khan Academy, something I noticed is that in the comments, in a lot of the lessons for personal finance, people actually will ask, like, hey, like, what's where do I go from here? Or like, you know, I'm like 14 years old, I want to start investing, like, where do I go from here?
Someone said that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
they're smart.
Yeah. And then let's see, and then the last thing is, and you know, people were curious and wanted to learn more about, you know, how psychology relates to finance and habit building. So that's definitely a good thing. So I went through you know, today and yesterday, kind of going through making iterations. But let's see, I'll put the link in here in case y'all want to you know, open it up on your own. By the way, good luck, Chris, on your interview. Dude, you're be a sick ass bartender. But yeah, so let me kind of walk through this a little bit. So restart full screen. Okay. So starting here at the personal finance page, and then change this up a little bit, where I'm talking more about kind of like money personalities and how that relates to behaviors. I think before it was like, you know, how do you feel about money, which was a little vague. So this I changed it up. So instead of a scale and where it's like, oh, very infrequent, frequent, or, you know, neutral, I changed it up to more, you know, multiple choice, you know, clear, quick hitting questions. It's actually based off of a money personality survey I found on Empower. So basically you know, you choose which one kind of, you know, you identify with most. So this one, you know, birthday, some preference, you know, small get together, big party, and then kind of going through. And then for this one, so initially I had a Dogecoin example, and people liked it. I think there was a little bit of concern about cryptocurrency being a little obscure, a little like niche for general audiences. So I decided to pivot and go with GameStop instead, and then have a little kind of pop up here that provides more context in case, you know, people aren't as familiar. So give a little bit information about, you know, what happened, general gist, at least enough to kind of answer this question, and then, you know, go from there. So then you get to this page, and, you know, here are the 6 major money personalities. Which one fits you best are listed here. And then I give users kind of an opportunity to peek through and, you know, take a look at these different these hints I get, or like, you know, kind of see which ones they are. And then there's a kind of find out now button, which, you know, as Jen's boss would say, oh, it's addicting, you know, give them that what is it, that hit of I don't know, the core loop, make it extra addicting. I just hear her boss saying, make it addicting. Yeah. So then this person hits next, and assuming, you know, it comes out as the nurturer, you know, And here's a brief description. And at first, and I think the last time Jen saw this, I had this as a big long screen. I decided to slim it down to the a smaller description, and then leave a link to Empower for the user to go and check it out more if they're interested. I think this relates to my design goal of like wanting to inject credibility into Khan Academy, and provide a link to let them know where we're getting our sources, and always giving a clear link or path for them if they want to learn more. And then, so initially this part, it used to be kind of, oh, can you please provide more financial information? So now not only I made it more optional, I now call it providing a little bit more personal context. Something that I do let them know is, this is optional, and whatever information you provide does help us in terms of providing a greater degree of personalization. So for example, current employment status, either working full-time, part-time, not currently working, and giving the option to skip if they'd like. What dependents are in the picture, spouse, partner, children, grandchildren, or parents. So the thinking here is that depending on these questions or these factors, there's likely to be more or less urgency in their financial needs. So then that will factor into some of the recommendations that we would give the user, which I'll show in just a bit. And then, are you in a position to pay off all your existing credit card debt? Yes or no? So now we're getting into the personalization recommendations. So for example, this one, Acorns, is probably more of a mild a recommendation. Someone who maybe has time to learn and really just kind of play around a little bit, put some money aside and see how it goes. Here's a link to Acorns to learn more about it. This is a little bit more of a moderate, like Mint, maybe for someone who really does need to take some action now and get more of a visual on their finances in order to manage it better, have a better sense of where things land. And then finally, this is kind of more of like an aggressive plan of action, like Rocket Mortgage. We need money now to finance paying off some debts, financing a big purchase. So this is kind of an example of a more aggressive recommendation. And then finally, I kind of conclude this lesson with the module, which is I changed the name, which is Psychology, Finance, and Behavior Change, which I think is in essence a lot of what my design is about, that intersection of not just finance, and learning about the concepts, but learning about how we think, the psychology behind it, and how that feeds into behavior change. So yeah, that is my design. Questions, or want me to go back to any pages?
Yeah, let me go to the I think right now we can just stay here. All right, so overall, I love the overall like user experience of asking these questions, and I think it seems like it's a lot more cohesive. I think it's less random, and then I really love how, for example, when you do the personalized recommendations, you reference because you are this personality and so forth. So it just ties like the effort that people have made into the recommendation. So really good job on that. Like really, really strong. Hit that home. Honestly, my comments are like pretty small. It's like really copy changes and more some visual stuff. Copy wise, I think when you say like personality matters, I think it could be helpful. You said like personalities can influence money habits or something. It was just like personality matters kind of felt pretty vague. I'd have to read into the paragraph to understand more. So I would expand on that. Where in, if you go to the screen where you're asking about the personal context, I really like that you use the word personal context because it does sound less intrusive. And you already say that it's optional. I feel like if you could just take out the part that says you are able to skip dot 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 dot, just because you already say it's optional. So I assume if you say it's optional, I think it's fine if you don't say I need to skip. It just seems kind of repetitive. Yeah, you already say it's optional. Yeah. Also, looking at, yeah, and then I think the buttons are pretty far apart, so I think there could be in the multiple choice, so there could be more exploration around how to make it like a little tighter. Yeah, they're pretty spread out apart. And then let's see, let's go next. Yeah, here, yeah, I think the spacing is a lot better. Could be some of the images they could have a smidge more spacing. But overall, like, much better. So yeah, good job on making the visual design changes that you could. I think the overall heart of it is so much stronger. And yeah, people love learning about themselves. So something like this makes it a lot more fun. I know when I was taking this Empower Me test, it definitely felt more fun doing it than being asked really dry questions. And it was pretty cool to be put in this archetype but not feel bad about myself. So yeah, really good job overall on this. Yeah, and how did you feel working, like revamping and or working on the iterative process on since last time?
Yeah, it felt really good. I think it felt a little intimidating at first. I think I got a ton of great feedback. But still, I think, I still experienced a little bit of doubt. I'm like, oh man, like my design is trash. Oh no, like what do I do? Uh, but then like doing the fig jamming and like putting them into like buckets, putting, like getting it out on a sticky note, I think it really helps. I think that's when I like was able to do a little bit of like almost like MVP stuff, like here, the like giving the people the freedom to mess around with things and see how that changes. Like that's nice, but I think that's like more of like an ideal state. So I'm going to focus on like what are these like 3 things that I can really hone in on. And I think for me that was like really linking the personalization, to make it help make it make sense, really locking in on helping the user feel more comfortable sharing, or answering like questions that might be a little bit more sensitive. And then I think there was a third thing which is just in general, like, shortening things up, making sure that, the heading was like what I wanted to be, capture the essence of like what, the the slide was meant to describe. So I think breaking it down that way made it feel more manageable. And yeah, and I just kind of went from there and kind of took on a life of its own.
Good job. Yeah, I think I like that you're proactive in putting all the themes into the Figma. Yeah, if you just try to brute force it and just do the journey, you will just scare yourself. Just like one step at a time. Like even within your own project, you need to scope it. Like, okay, I'm going to just focus on putting these themes in the research. And that's like scope it down to a few tasks at a time. Really one at a time, unless you're that good at multitasking, but no one usually is. Okay. Good job. Feel really kudos for, I think, If you can, all right. Julie, feel free to share your progress. And also feel free to ask any feedback if you have anything.
Yeah, I have a question. Faye, I feel like there was a big
I
leap
can't hear
from,
any. Oh, well.
uh,
Oh yeah, I can hear.
okay. I feel like there was a big progress from last time I saw it. Was it like, did it take a long time to adjust all the information that you got from the feedback, or did you already kind of have ideas of how to approach it while you were doing the testing?
Oh, are you asking me?
Yeah.
I think it was, oh no, the feedback definitely like made all of this possible. Like I think I was like at like I don't know, I was hitting a wall. Like, I felt like I was like, wait, where do I go from here? And then yeah, the feedback really helped. I think just seeing it was like one of those things where like maybe like sometimes this happens to me and maybe other people too, where things make sense to us in our heads, right? And then we like say it out loud for other people and they're like, wait, what do you mean? And they're like, that's weird. And then I think these user interviews was like that for me. And it was like, oh, I'm realizing, oh shoot, like this doesn't like, this doesn't resonate, and kind of going back to the drawing board. And for me, actually, before I did this, I actually just kind of went on the Empower thing and I just did the quiz and I was like, huh, that was like pretty fun. Like, I enjoyed that, it was interesting. And like, I felt like, yeah, this is the feeling that, I want to, kind of have other people feel when they like, come onto Common Academy. I want them to have this sense of like, oh yeah, like I don't know what money personality I am, but I want to find out. So, I want to do this and I want to kind of see where this takes me. So I think that was sort of like the breakthrough moment. And yeah, and the feedback definitely made it all possible. So yeah.
Okay. Screen. So for this week, I also kind of like Faye felt like I was hitting a wall. So I decided to kind of work on my storytelling, wrap up everything, including the research, so that it helps me to push like my final design. So like finalizing it with prototyping and I guess moving on with testing, just making sure everything is cohesive. So yeah. So my title is called Simplifying Client Freelancer Collaboration. And so I don't know about you guys, but back in 2020, I graduated from Savannah College of Art and Design. And this was kind of like our final semester. And we have makeshift white graduation hats because this was the moment when we got the email from school that we had to leave. And this was a moment when all of us realized that we're not going to get a graduation. So after graduating from Savannah, Georgia, at Savannah College of Art and Design, I kind of landed upon a situation where nobody needed designers, or at least interior designers. So this was truly how I felt. And during the pandemic, I was at Suwanee, Georgia, which is like a really rural part of Georgia where there was cows and nothing really to see. So I thought, okay, well, I guess there's no job prospects, and this is my time to do freelancing. And when I was thinking of freelancing, I really thought this was my expectation. You're looking out into beautiful nature and you just need to have your computer and your knowledge and everything would be okay. But in reality, I was more stuck with this, which was just threads of on and on and on knowledge. There's this one part where he says, also, you're doing 2 PixOCent as well, right? And I had no idea what he was talking about. I've never seen this person. And I just thought that the whole process of communicating and collaborating with the client was extremely difficult. So in order to find out what really the problem was, I set out this journey to research kind of what is the whole end-to-end process of freelancing. So upon talking to around 5 freelancers and including clients, I came to find out that there are a lot of frictions within this collaboration. The first foremost challenge was that there's a lot of high friction and cumbersome for freelancers to kind of maneuver the information. Like the image I showed you, there is just so much information within different threads, and sometimes they show it to you on Gmail, sometimes they call you. So it's just really annoying and really cumbersome for the freelancers to bounce back and forth. There's lack of flexibility because users want to focus on one specific task at a time, but there's not one central area where they could look at a lot of the information they needed. So after gathering all these information, I thought, okay, well, it's simple. I know that Dropbox is focusing on collaboration. So I just thought that I had to untangle this process to make it easier. But turns out this was even a bigger challenge than I thought, because if you view the circle as kind of a collaboration, Dropbox is out of this loop. People don't really think of Dropbox as a collaborative platform, but more of a file sharing platform. So when I was talking to freelancers and how they bypassed or try to find solutions outside of this, what a lot of the shortcuts that they took was finding methods outside of Dropbox. But the problem is that there needs to be one central area where people are able to not only have a central area, but they're also able to track the progress within each file and be able to keep tabs on how the progress is happening with each associated file. So my solution, I can't. Oh, yeah. So this is the current prototype I have so far. Oh, I think I should have added a before of how it looks like and then after, but what I focused on is the update panel on the right. And
I would just say that you previously like updated it or something.
Yeah, I also forgot to add the first slide, which is where people actually like sync the message.
Yeah,
but
I think that's okay.
Yeah, well, pretend that it's already synced. The users would sync their email, and then they would get, and then Dropbox would be able to kind of synthesize the action items and kind of simplify it in the panel on the right. I think I've showed you guys all the prototype, but that is where I am so far.
Yay, good job.
Thank
I
you.
love how clean it looks. First off, like I am so impressed by the storytelling. I feel like I was just hooked to why you did this. I like that it was personal because, and when you present this like in interviews, like definitely like it makes it really funny. It just like it tells me about you without you being like, I went to this college and I studied this and I did that. She's like, cool. So yeah, I thought that was great. I love the memes and just really showing us that thread. It was like crazy and you can't figure out like what you're supposed to do and what link is where. So I think that really paints you did a really good job in painting the problem. I think that whole problem framing was like really, really strong. Let's see other things. I think you talked about, like that's why Dropbox, or people don't think of Dropbox as collaboration, and now people need a unified space. I think that was like a bit of a jump. I would think that what you maybe a way to connect the two could be to say that like clearly everything is fragmented in a bunch of different places, and one of the reasons why is because there isn't a solution out there to unify these things all together. Your goal is to try to do that with Dropbox, but it's difficult because people see it as archival. So one of the really big design challenges you're trying to tackle is trying to make the Dropbox and these threads more in workflow. And you did that by syncing messages that people are already doing. You're not You're just reducing that friction to connect everything.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's like something that you can say.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely like a part where I was trying to think of how to tie it together, but that's a really good point. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think like one of the challenges I feel like Dropbox's faces, and this is just what people tell me, like, oh, like Dropbox is just like file storing. But if you say like people are sharing files back and forth associated with tasks all over the place in Gmail, we're just extracting that, consolidating it, then it'd be like, oh yeah, that's a no-brainer. If people are already doing it. I think one of the best things about design is like you are taking what is a workaround outside of an app, taking a bunch of these processes and just putting it together, which is
Mm.
like essentially what you're doing. And I think another way to frame this is for Dropbox, it's more than just a folder. The folder and the files are oftentimes they're moving parts associated with the task, and I think by maybe explaining that in a way, I think could be helpful, because I think to most audiences they're just gonna think a file as a file.
Mm.
So I think maybe just and kind of circling back to that, I think maybe it was kind of hard to see the tasks associated in that thread. I just saw there was a lot of messages. Maybe like zoom into one thing and then I'm like, oh, that's a task. That's like
Yeah, I see.
super lost in the sea of stuff.
Okay, yeah,
Like-
I'll reference this image back and maybe tie it
Yeah,
together.
like zoom in and be like, we're taking this task, a multitude of these tasks, putting it here. Then I think that could be like a little clearer.
Okay. One question. So this image is actually from Google. Would this be a problem? This is like their
No one's gonna care.
okay.
I would change the colors though, because those don't look like Dropbox colors.
Okay.
I think the drag and drop. I think the drag and drop would be better if there was like spacing around it. But then it led to me to my other question, which was, why do a drag and drop? Would it just be better just to do at something? Like, what is the benefit of the drag and drop?
I think there is an option for at or upload if you want to, but I thought my reasoning for having a drag and drop was since the files are already here, it's just really quick.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah. Also, Dropbox already has a section where you can drop files, so I thought it was almost just intuitive for people to drag it and just upload it.
I see. Okay. I know that we talked about this, like the blue box is kind of like weird in the way that is. I
It is
realized
weird, yeah.
why. I think it's because you have a box and then it's squished, where the text box is just like a blue box, so it doesn't look as squished.
Yeah. Should I just so like that's another thing, like because right now this square is aligned to everything. But if I were to make it more spacious so that it doesn't touch the blue box, then I would, I
Then-
guess, indent it inwards.
I wonder if maybe if you hover over it, it just shows a black box over it, and that might be fine. It doesn't have to have a blue box around the entire row.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah, I think that's something that you can try.
Like black box over it, as in have it
Oh, I meant
in.
for the other options. And in terms of the drag and drop, I think that's gonna be kind of hard. Because if you make the box a little wider, then the distance between the edge of the side panel to the drag and drop box is gonna be really tight.
Mm,
I wonder if you just don't need the sides. Like
these?
you don't need the sides and you just have the tops, the drag and drop top.
Mm,
Maybe that would work. It's definitely different. So you have
like here, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also really love the interaction of when you hover and expands.
Yeah, it's fun. I think another thing that I want your 2 cents on is, so currently I have it where if you can see the original message, if you click on the date, but I think it's just too much hovering. So I was wondering if it's easier to have like a see original message with the icon instead, like next to the expansion button.
Oh, yeah, I think you could do that.
Okay.
You could do it. I don't know if it's like a Gmail icon, because a Gmail icon would make me think it opens Gmail. So
Mm. Okay. Yeah, this is my prototype so far. It's not complete. But my next steps would be to like flush this out. I know I've been saying flushing it out again, but I think like storytelling it and kind of like reminding myself why I'm doing this really helps to motivate myself. And then I know I need to fix this page, so this, and then maybe probably just the ending, the Gmail. But that is where I am at the moment.
happening. Well, that's crazy. I love what you said that you use the storytelling to motivate yourself. I could see like this was a personal experience that you had, and you invigorated yourself by incorporating it into your storytelling. It's like you did two things at once, which is incredible. So
Yay!
yeah, good job. That was
Thank
like
you.
love the story. All right. Well, I don't think we have anything left, so I'm gonna jet to go get dinner with my friend. Where we're gonna see some dinner and jazz, some adult things. Fun.
Enjoy your holiday, you guys.
Oh my god, thank you. Too.
You
Right?
have Monday, right? Off, right?
Yeah, I only have like 8 paid holidays, so
Oh, okay.
yeah, I think I used to have like 12. But I
Hmm.
have 8. It's okay. I have unlimited PTO. I really should take more of it. Yeah.
Okay. Bye, guys.